I'm ready to slash and burn.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And I know everyone is a big fan of these big team episodes, so I am very excited to have Team Defective on the show. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Now, before we get started, just in case folks watching the show or listening to the show aren't familiar, I just want to have everyone go around and introduce themselves in whatever order you deem the most organized.
Start with the double over there. Michael and his dad.
The double.
Okay. I guess I'll lead off. I am Michael, sometimes referred to as Little Mike. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, Big Mike. So obviously Michael's dad and just part of the team, excited to be part of the team, and we can get into it later, but I fight with Voxel V1, which was the first speed weight that Michael designed and built himself. During COVID, he redesigned it in kind of version 2 and put the first version up on the shelf, and then when he went away to college, he gave it to me, and that's where I went from just kind of straight pit crew to carrying the rest of these guys on the screen in events at Norwalk the last year and a half or so. But joking with that, obviously, but obviously excited to be able to fight and compete and live the dream that they're living. So
I'm Zach Knight. I build Crunk, Pramheda, and Pramheda. Been around this since 2011, just with educational stuff like that, and up to this point, I've probably got roughly 200 matches that I've either been cage side for on my own bot or drove myself.
Hello, I'm Chris Rummel. I build Yob Gnol in the 12-pound category. I also come from the same educational division as the rest of these folks. So I've been around this since about 2016. I got into 12 pounds last year in 2022.
I'm Matt Luther. I drive Blue Cheese. I started in about 2017, so I don't have as many years as Zach and Chris, but Blue Cheese was actually based on the first robot I worked on in 2017. I scaled it down a tiny bit, tried to keep all the same gimmicks and fix the issues it had.
Yeah, so I'm Aiden Hill. I build Solarplex, and I'm fighting with Nacho Libre, which is a 3-pounder at the next event. And I've been competing since about 2015, which also in the same educational division that all of these guys have came from.
Awesome. Now, I'm curious, how is there a certain way that you all came together as a team? Is it just we all know each other, let's form a team, or how exactly did that come to be?
So I could tell this one best. Me and Aiden became friends first. He was a member of Punxsutawney's team. So just throughout the years, Plum and Punxsutawney had always been kind of friendly. So me and Aiden became friends through that. Then when I went to Cal U after Plum, I had started the robotics club there, which also still did combat robotics and stuff like that. That's where you introduce Chris and Matt. They both joined in on that team. Knowing that it existed, they were like, okay, well, we can go have fun in college too, and not just high school. And then Michael, I actually used to mentor him when he was a high school student. because he came from the same high school as I did, and just kept going back. And then eventually in early 2021, Michael's like, "Oh yeah, I went out to Connecticut to fight robots." Long after I didn't realize, excuse me, after I thought like would be done with this stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, they have 12-pound class." I'm like, "All right." So we all went out. Everybody you see here, and within a couple months, we were all formed under one team, and Michael's the true captain of it, not me like everybody it's claims.
Well, that is a great story. Sometimes that's, that's the way that it happens. What one person joins and then, everybody kind of forms together. That's really cool how that worked out. Now, I definitely want to get into talking about the bots. So I'm just going to kind of go through one by one, talking about your robots. And I'm going to start with Aiden, especially because I saw Nacho Libre on the list and I'm like, that sounds like a cool robot. Even though I know that you've also done Solarplex, but let's talk about Nacho Libre, especially because it's going to be competing in this June event.
That's one that we're still like in the process of finishing up the design on it, but it's gonna be just a single tooth disc with some camber wheels that I'm working with one of our friends on. Yeah, so that's the main plan for it, and then it should be 4-wheel drive is what we're looking at with it. But this is actually my first time competing in 3-pound division, so it's going to be an interesting time for me for sure.
It is a stacked field, so it should be a really interesting time. But yeah, I mean, so you said it's your first time competing in 3 pounds. Kind of talk a little bit about Solarplex, because that's what you had done before, and how that robot has gone for you.
Yeah. So I actually have it sitting right here, and it's in my background. But this guy I built, I want to say mostly through 2020. So I'm actually a music ed student, not like doing anything within the realm of engineering or anything like that. But it was last spring. I took a semester off because I had to get carpal tunnel surgery in both of my wrists. So while I was working over that spring and that summer, I ended up using the money I got from that to build this. It uses round belts for its drive and weapon system compared to what we had used prior. And I had quite a number of issues with it at its first competition, but it got working at its second until I had a pretty nasty battery fire, which I don't know if you can see. I still have like charred through on my bottom plate, and everything's nice and rusted up from the last time it's fought.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I had ordered batteries for that competition that told me they were going to be there a week or two early, and they didn't show up. So Zach gave me a set of 2-year-old batteries that did not end up being happy.
Yeah, they were old. They were used in V4 a number of times.
Yeah, the batteries, what are you gonna do? It happens sometimes. Awesome. Now, Matt, you have Blue Cheese, and Blue Cheese did fight in the May event. So let's talk about, how that event went for you. And I don't think I saw you signed up for June, so kind of talk about what, the next plan is for you with that.
Blue Cheese has always had issues with its weapon exploding. I've kind of gotten tired of trying to fix that. So it's getting put on a shelf for a little bit. For June, however, I'm part of a 30-pound cluster bot entry called Happy Meal. And we're gonna have a milkshake, a burger, fries, and apple pie. And right here, I have fries, which the forks on it are gonna end up getting painted yellow, and it's gonna look like a fry box from McDonald's. And I haven't really had the luxury of being able to test blue cheese properly. It's always weapon or drive because it's just too chaotic to handle. Fries, however, doesn't have a weapon, so I've just been practicing driving it a whole bunch because it's a little zippy robot. It's a lot of fun to drive.
You're
I
welcome
will
to bring it
tell you.
over anytime, Matt. I'll just have to add to that. We have a test box here that was built for Beetles. And then Michael and Zach and Chris have brought over their 12-pound. So we need to upgrade it a little bit for the 12-pound. And pretty recently, Matt brought blue cheese over, and just seeing blue cheese, excuse me, in the box, I said, Matt, I don't think you should fire the weapon up. So he didn't, but he went left, right, up, down, and actually moved the box across the floor. So it's a 8x6 box. It's definitely weighs a couple 100 pounds, and it was moving around just with blue cheese getting its anger out. So, but fries can come over anytime, Matt.
All right.
Fries is a little safer. And I have to say, I am like ecstatic about Happy Meal. I saw the name on the list and I'm like, what is this? And now that I know what it is, I'm like 5 times more excited than I already was. So
Ask Zoe more in depth about it.
I certainly will. That is exciting. Now Mike and Michael, you know, you're obviously very well known for the Voxel robot as well as Carmen, which did really well in May. So kind of talk about, you know, what you've done and what the, you know, the next plan is obviously for like this June event and going forward.
Yeah, so my first individual robot that I built on my own was the original Voxel back in 2017, 18, maybe a little after, I think 18 or 19. Well, that was just kind of a summer project since the seniors on our high school team wouldn't let us touch their robots. So I kind of needed something to occupy myself with. So that kind of just turned into a little summer project. And then I started hearing about Norwalk. The year COVID wiped everything out. That like November, the end of the year, was the first Norwalk we went to. It was the outdoor pit event. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
But after that, we were pretty much hooked. So we kept bringing it back. Like he mentioned earlier, I gifted him the original version of Voxel once I moved on from it. Just kind of as a, you know, a why not kind of thing. But now it's turned into, you know, top 5 in the country for this year, and it's, you know, doing better than I ever did with it. But yeah, this past event, I had my 2 12-pounders there. I had Carmen and then my newer 12-pound Voxel, which I can somewhat show off.
Awesome.
Respectively placed 3rd and 4th. They both qualified for championships in November. Which for a mostly new robot to me that's a win. That made it worth it. So they're both in for November. I'm kind of worried now. I've only had to deal with 1 robot before, but now I have 2 very separate, completely different projects going on. So that's kind of a new thing to manage, but they're both different enough. They have different things I like about them. They're just kind of my ongoing engineering projects as a student, just to kind of, you know, see what kind of stuff I can squeeze into stuff outside of school.
Awesome. Chris, so you have Yob Gnol, which is the number 2 12-pounder. Pretty impressive what you've been able to do with that robot. So I want to hear about your robot.
So in spring of 22, well, back in December of 21, I went to finals with Zach and Pramheda, and since then I was pretty much like I need to make it up to Norwalk with something. So I designed Yob Gnol, which is a 4-wheel drive beater bar, but loosely based off of one of my old 15-pound bots. And I showed up to the new bot event, which was May of last year, and I ended up winning that event, which was way better than I could have imagined it going. I just wanted to go up there to have some fun, but it went really well. So then I just kept coming back. And one thing about Yob is the parts are pretty much reusable almost every time. So I didn't really have a whole lot into it, so I could just keep bringing it back and back. And then I ended up winning November of last year too. And then when I went to finals, I placed second to Huge, which that was a great showing as well. I'm pretty impressed with that. But I'm still running off of parts that I had gotten for finals of last year. So I brought it to May and I had some issues. Jake Hoffman with Maximizer kind of broke one of my weapons, so I'm really dwindling parts down. I'm thinking June will be the last time that I can run these parts, and then I'll have to do a little redesigning and upgrading, which I have a few ideas for. But I'm looking to make it to the championship in November, so we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. Now, Zach, as you mentioned earlier, you have Pramheda, Pramheda, and Kronk, which is also known as the Orange Pramheda. So let's talk about that, because obviously now with Pramheda you have a 3-pounder as well.
Right. So obviously, like, Pramheda is my mainstay, right? That started back when I was competing with Chris and Matt on my team. It's in Cal U. So the understanding of that Krunk is the orange Pramheda, yes, it is, because it's the steel floor version upgraded a little bit over time to be able to compete well at Norwalk. Whereas current Pramheda is the design styles that I wanted to take since coming to Norwalk. And so I just basically created a tree branch and said, well, Pramheda is going its own way, the way I want it to go. But this robot's easy enough, and I really wanted to get my brother back into the sport because he competed from 08 to 2010, and then he didn't get to come back to another event until last year. So I built it for him, competed it, won it, made it to finals for last year, and then he competed again and it registered. He would have re-registered himself, so I can't take that away from him. He didn't ride my coattails for that. But Krunk's coming back again this event, which my brother will actually be driving. It'll be the one time that he gets to come out this year before he makes the trip out again out for World Championship time. So that will be nice, and let him kind of play with the fixes I found for it. But Theresa has been an absolute challenge and a half. Going from a 12, which is like the idea that you build everything out of metal and you have to brace things as strong as humanly possible, to something that does this is a little mind-boggling. Or the fact that, like, the weapon assembly I could just push together with my hands. Like, it's been a whole design challenge, but ultimately what I tried to do was keep that Pramheda-esque, like, really fast, moderate hitting. Like, my weapon doesn't hit like a truck, but it hits pretty decently well. And that was something I wanted to keep when I like almost perfectly scaled Pramheda down, and then just tried to adapt to the design styles that threes need. I mean, ultimately this year I've fought it twice, and the only 3 robots I've lost to are all ranked in the top 15.
Yeah, which is impressive because I mean, obviously the 3 pound field is very expansive. So that also makes it ultra competitive. So what you've been able to do with the 3 pound version, I think has been pretty good.
I'm finding more joy in it than I've had with Pramheda in a little while. We're not going to tell Pramheda that though.
Yes, let's keep that secret from Pramheda. Yeah, one other question that I wanted to ask everybody, because this is my new favorite question to ask all the NHRL folks, and I'll go around and ask each of you that if you had unlimited money and resources to build any robot that you wanted to build, what would you build and why? So I'm going to start with Aiden.
Well, if I had unlimited money, I'd probably take my old 15-pound bot, Sarbamba, and do a little bit of redesign on that to make it fit into the 12-pound weight class, scale it down some, and really focus on getting that as operational as I could and build it. Just because, like, it was one of my favorite designs to work on and drive when we had it running. It had the highest placings out of anything that I had done. And like overall, it just brings back a lot of memories with getting into bots, learning what I was doing, and a lot of like the high school team mates, getting to do things with them that I don't really get to like go back and think on much, but it's something that I still hold dear, like to this day, just getting that experience. And if I could bring that back, it would make me very happy.
Great. Matt?
I would probably spend a little bit more time just trying to dial in blue cheese, do a lot more analysis on it and testing, and get more properly machined parts to help keep it together. A lot of the issues stem from me not having the time to put in like proper analysis on it, and the weapons are a little bit ridiculously expensive. So that's a little bit of a downer, trying to think about redesigning that and bringing it back as a visually similar robot.
Hey, I think that's great. Wanting to like, kind of make the best possible version of the robot that you have. Michael and Mike.
Serious answer. I've had thoughts of doing some kind of 12-pound overhead spinner for a while. So I could probably do some obnoxious like billet stuff and just general things that like I would want to make that I have sitting in CAD that either are just not realistic. Alternatively, I would like to see how many robots they could fit into a 30-pound cluster. So like 40 something ant weight robots or just something, because I'm confident that eventually there is like a threshold where quantity would win. I'm confident.
That's the first I've heard of that. That's pretty interesting. So,
I mean, somebody has posed to see how many, I don't know of what weight, but how many positively hystericals could we make into one multi-bot to enter at BattleBots?
that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, along those lines.
Exactly. Mike, did you have any other different idea for yourself?
Well, I'm kind of the old guy, so I like older things. So I'd like, I don't have, the technology or the really ability to redesign. I think I've heard some comments that, I designed the bots for Michael, and that's 1000% wrong. He is 100% the designer, and I was gifted the greatest gift. So I like to keep the V1 version of Voxel, but bring it as modern day as possible. So we're looking at some beater upgrades and things like that we'd like to do, and it's really limited on space and weight, so really need to spend the time and the effort to try to trim that to put some newer things in there. So I'd like to keep that original and just try to bring it as modern day as possible. So it's been doing okay the last year and a half. So we'll keep doing some upgrades. So that's where I would keep it.
Awesome. Chris?
Well, ultimately, I'd probably just put more time and money into Yob because that's kind of my baby at the moment. But if I were to think about doing something else, I've been thinking about getting back into the vertical disc gang, because I ran one of those in high school and they just hit like nothing else. Beater bars are fun because you can just bully around your opponent, but discs will just vaporize people, so that's pretty fun. I'd probably think about an emulsifier style 12-pound.
That sounds scary. Zach?
So I got one that's possibly realistic that might happen one day, and I have one just outside the freaking box, wild. The one that that actually has a chance of happening someday is I would build a 250-pound Pramheda. That's been something that I've actually tried to see if it's even a possibility. With bots like Endgame, Witch Doctor, and all them being the stereotypical disc. And so obviously I'd have to come up with some gimmick. But the weird one that I'd do this in a 30-pound weight class. It'd be a full titanium billet chassis. Imagine a love child between Droopy and Cannibal Mini. Cannibal Mini had a giant weapon that sat about like this instead of Droopy's kind of nice little angle to it. But the whole point of it is that they would spin opposite directions so you can still get your gyroscopic forces, but they would meet perfectly in the middle so you could combine the force or immediately 1-2 hit an enemy. So it'd be like imagine a vertical disc version of Droopy, but at 30 pounds. That would be my that would cost a lot of money.
It probably would, but it would be entertaining. And after all, this show is called Outside of the Box, so these ideas are very welcome here. Awesome. Well, I am very excited for this June event. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. I definitely expect Team Defective to have a great showing there. So I wish you all the best of luck in that event, and can't wait to see what else you guys come up with in the future.
Excellent. Zach, if you build that, that's not allowed in the test box either. So
No. See, that's where we put it in the corner of the garage that I've already scoped out as the 30-pound test cage.
Yeah.
Where we just commandeer your garage and then build a giant test cage.
Yeah, it's interesting. Zach also has CAD designs of how our garage is going to get redone. So that's pretty interesting. So looking forward to that.
Good
I'm
old
sure
8x8.
it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It's fine. It's all fine. It's perfect.
Well,
I will say all of Team Defective is obviously supportive of Michael's younger sister. That's 12. So we'll see. Maybe the version 2 of Voxel might reemerge here in the near future with a younger driver behind it. So also in the works.
Yeah, you got to be aware of those random Team Defective members we've got lying in the weights.
Yep.
I can there's more than what I can count on one hand eventually coming. So good luck, everybody else.
That is awesome. Yeah, and that's exciting. I think that we need to see more kids, getting involved at the sport at that age. And at Norwalk, it's so accessible, for them to be able to do that and try it out and stuff. So I love having seen so many young kids there, when I was there in May, and hopefully that's something that we'll continue to see more of. So awesome. Well, anybody that's watching the show, obviously, please make sure that if you have not done so already, that you subscribe, keep liking the videos, commenting, all of that good stuff, support combat robotics, and we will see everybody next time on the show.